you a word of warning before I present this show to you. We had a lot of technical difficulties, and I've tried to minimize those as much as possible. But being the athletes that we are, myself and my guest, we were determined to push through. So, despite the sound quality and the picture coming in and out, I hope that you still are able to enjoy what my guest on this show has to say, and we appreciate your patience. Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of Global Sports Channel's Sports Personality Spotlight. I'm Tasha Danvers, two-time Olympian and Olympic bronze medalist. Now, my guest today has been on this show before, but we just had to have him back because he's such a cool guy. He is a world record holder, but not only that, he has a new passion that is outside of his old career that he's really driven to succeed in just as much as he was in his sporting days. So I'd love for you to welcome back Michael Frater. Michael, welcome back.
Thank you very much for having me again.
Of course, of course. And you know what? It was actually Mark that interviewed you last time, right?
Yes, it was.
I want you to forget it ever happened. I'm here now. Now, Michael, I know we're probably going to go over some things that you went over before, but it's going to be a little bit of a different perspective because athlete to athlete, we have a common bond. In fact, when I was looking up your career, just to make sure I had my I's dotted and my T's crossed, I was like, we were like always in the same places.
Yes, we were.
We
Yes,
were
we
in
were.
Beijing,
Very much
Sydney,
so.
and I don't think we ever said hello. So, hi. Now, you grew up in Jamaica, and both my parents are born and raised in St. Catharines, Jamaica. And my mother is always fantasizing about climbing mango trees and how different it was from when she moved to England. What was it like for you growing up in Jamaica versus, when you went to the big cities?
I mean, it was pretty much the same as what your mom was talking about because I actually grew up in Trelawney.
Nice.
That's also in the rural area. So all this climbing of the trees, mango trees, guava trees, guinea trees. I had all of that throughout my childhood. So, you know, and that's one of the things that's missing nowadays with people. Like, you're inside so much, but back when I was growing up, we were always outdoors every day. We were out, basically just exploring and just enjoying the outdoors.
Right, right. Do you think any of that helped you, get your strength for the sports career that you ended up going into?
I would love to think so. I would love to think so. I think I lived maybe like 3 minutes away from school when I was growing up. So, there was always two bells, like a bell to that school is about to start, and then a final bell.
Right.
So I just stay home until when I hear that first bell, and then I just pick my bag up and just run straight to school. So
Right.
I've
It's
been running since I was born.
that must be a trait of athletes because I remember they used to call me the road runner at school because I would just run, run, run from class to class. So just we can't help ourselves. Now,
You
did
can't
you
help it.
do? We can't help it. Did you do other sports growing up, or was it just track?
Um, I had a special love for track growing up, but I also did soccer.
Right,
But
right,
I knew where my calling was from. I was young. I knew that it was track and field. I was a lot better at track and field than I was at soccer. So I knew
right.
that where my passion was.
And was there something about it that just drew you to it, or was it just the fact that what, I'm kind of better at this one, I'm gonna head in that direction?
No, no, no. I think I fell in love with the sport. I think it was back from '92 was the first Olympics I watched, and you know, it was in I think that was Barcelona,
Right.
and I just remember waking up early in the morning, 4 a.m., and I was just glued to the TV, just watching all the events, heats first, all the qualifying stages, and I just fell in love with track and field since then. So, I mean, ever since then, it's just been a passion for me.
Right. And was it the competitive nature and the suspense of seeing what people were gonna do? What kept you glued in? Because I was the total opposite. I didn't watch any track and field growing up. What kept you glued to the screen?
um, I think it was just the whole competitiveness. Like
Yeah.
I have two older brothers, and I'm always trying to compete against them. So, it
Right.
was it was just a competitive household from I was young. So,
Right.
and I think that's track and field was the one sport I could, stay a bit close to them in. So
Right, right, being the baby.
yeah.
Now, Jamaica obviously has a very rich passion for sports. Who were some of the people that you admired growing up, whether in track or other sports? Were there certain sports people who really inspired you?
Well, growing up, the closest inspiration I had was my oldest brother. His name is Michael Frater, and he's also a two-time Olympian. So
Wow.
I always looked up to him. But um, internationally, and who I grew up watching and who I gravitated to from as far back as the '92 Olympics was Frankie Fredericks,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I just admired the character that he had and the drive he had. But I always wanted him to win a gold, but he was very unlucky to be getting silvers at the time. And just the aura of the personality that he had, he was, seemed very humble and just, very reserved. And I'd like to think that's the type of person I am as well. So I really gravitated to watching him and just following him throughout his career.
Right. I remember Frankie, and like you said, he did have such a poised, well well-rounded personality. And
Yes.
for sprinters it's usually quite the opposite. They're usually bouncing around doing crazy stuff, because it's a high intensity event. So seeing someone like Frankie who just took everything in his stride was quite a difference and quite inspiring. Now, you said your brother went to two Olympics. Did he give you advice that you were able to use, or was it you both were kind of in your own worlds?
No, no, no. He guided me along my career. I was his baby brother, so he just made sure that I didn't make the same mistakes that he made, and he guided me all through my career.
Right. What were some of the mistakes that he made that he helped you avoid?
I mean, it was just different training aspects of training,
Right.
especially the dedication and the sacrifices. If you wanted to be one of the best in the world, there's a lot of sacrifice that you had to make, and he made some mistakes where especially just being a young man, just really trying enjoying yourselves, and then the effects coming back to haunt you. So you know
Right.
at one part I was just like, all right, maybe he doesn't want me to have as much fun so to speak, but he was really
Yeah.
looking out for me and my career, and just made sure I stayed on the right path. And for that, I was able to stay healthy. Like I had a pretty, I was running from I was, from ever since I can remember. And when I'm
Right.
in Jamaica, I'm one of the few people who actually competed throughout the boys champs that we have here, and made it onto the international arena. So, it just kept me on the right path, just from a young age, just doing the right things when it came to track and field.
Right. And it's great. I talk about that a lot with guests about having the right people in your circle and how important it is for athletes to surround themselves with, people who are going to help them get to the next level as opposed to hold them back. You had kind of had an inbuilt system because your brother was a part of your
Yes.
family, so that works out well. Now, a lot of people, you predominantly ran the 100, and a lot of people don't really understand the technical side of it. It's like, okay, you go from A to B, no big deal. Just go from the gun to the tape. What's the big deal? Just go, right? But there's a lot more to it than that. Talk about what it takes. What's some of the technical things that happen from the time you sit in those blocks to the time you cross those tape? Take us through the race.
uh, that's a lot to explain in in the time we have. But a lot of people have the misconception that, as you said, it's just from start to finish.
Yeah,
But it the amount of things that you have to do in 10 seconds, people don't realize how difficult it is.
right,
From the first movement out of the blocks, not even as much as your reaction, but just having the right angle coming out of the blocks, the correct position of your foot when you're coming out of the blocks, the first steps. Just it's a very technical event, and some people it may come naturally, or just by luck they're able to do these things. But when teaching someone who doesn't have a clue about sprinting, it's not easy. It's very difficult. But I mean, as I said, it's not something that could be explained quickly. We'll have like like a start session, and a start session, you to get a start properly, or to begin it, to even learn it, it'll take maybe 2 months, or thereabout. So it's
Wow.
not something that could just be explained as
Yeah.
easily as some would like to think it is.
Yeah.
And um and that's why, like, certain coaches, like one of my mentors, Stephen Francis, I remember when I was when we were there working, and you would have to be doing especially starts until your fingers are blistering, just to get the right angle and the right position of exiting the block. So um it's not as easy as just starting. A lot of people just come and tell you that it's just the start, the dry phase, the transition, and then the lifting part. That's it in a nutshell. But the different breakdown of the steps and the phases, it's very technical.
Right, exactly. So all you people out there who are armchair athletes sitting there saying, I could do I could do that. All you have to do is go from one point to the other. Let it be known. Michael has warned you. It's not as easy as it looks. Now, when you were in high school, you were actually told that you were too small to run track and field, and you then went on to win a world championship medal. Tell me how did that feel? I mean, you're super passionate about sports, and you're told you're too small to run. What was that like?
It was hurtful. It was hurtful. I was very disappointed because, I mean, the I entered high school when I was young. I entered when I was 9 years old, gonna be 10. So I
Right.
was a bit younger than the other guys, and I'm not the tallest person in the world. So I was small. You know, First year in high school, went out for the track team, and without even without even a trial run or anything like that, I was told that I was too small, wouldn't be able to be on the track team. So um, I took it. You know, it was a blow for me, but I didn't allow it to deter me. I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew I loved track and field, and I just wanted a chance, and unfortunately, I didn't get a chance that time, and I actually transferred from that particular school to another school where my friends were, and instantly the coach was like, "All right, for your age, you're running pretty fast, so just stick with it," and that's what I did.
That was a great, great, great decision because you ended up competing at Texas Christian University and getting a scholarship there. What was that like now to go from being told you're too small to now you're a scholarship athlete in an American university?
I mean, as I said, I just knew that track and field was for me. So I wasn't surprised. Like once I started competing in high school, I realized that I was pretty good at track and field. And as I said, I had my older brother, which was just making sure that I was just doing the right things, just train, and regardless of everything that happened, he just made sure I stayed on the right path. So I wasn't worried. He was ahead of me, so he got a scholarship to the States as well. So you know we were not from a rich family. We knew that sports was what was going to take us to university and all of that stuff. So we made sure that we did our schoolwork, but we made sure we had sports down. We did the right things, and we all got scholarships to universities.
Wow, your parents must have been super proud. I know my parents were crazy, crazy happy when I got my scholarship because I was in England struggling with, going to class and then trying to go to practice after at 7 o'clock at night. It was crazy. But when that opportunity to go to American university where the education is inbuilt into the system, so all three of you going must have been fantastic for your family. Now, was it a culture shock moving to Texas? Because for me, I just thought, oh, everyone speaks English, it's going to be fine. But I got there and man, I was homesick quick. What was it like for you?
It wasn't as much a culture shock by the time I got to university because my mom lived in Florida at the time, so I would often visit her. So it wasn't really a culture shock. Florida and Texas is a bit different, so it was really um, I had to adjust myself. But I was by the time I was too determined to be distracted by anything. I just remember, when I got there, finding out that there were things that were stacked against me. Not only was I a black athlete in a private university, but I was also from the island, so speak differently, only black person in most of my classes, and being an athlete where it's expected that I'm just there for the free ride for the scholarship, just doing enough to just pass into to be able to compete. But um, right there, I just took the competitiveness that I had in track and field to the classroom as well, and tried my best and excelled pretty much very very well in the classroom as well.
Right. It's interesting you say that because I was just talking to someone recently about this free ride that we get. And it's not a free ride at all. Like, we are up late, we are traveling, we're trying to balance studies. It's hard work being a scholar athlete. So, for anyone out there that thinks we're just sitting around with our arms folded and chilling, it's a big job. It's definitely a big job. Now, what did you study when you were at Texas Christian?
I studied political science.
And what were your plans with your political science? Did you plan to use it after school, or was it just kind of a bridge?
For me, it was a base. I was originally planning on going to law school. I always had it in mind. My brothers always made sure that we knew I was decent in track and field, but one injury ruined his career. So we kind of made sure that if injuries came along, at the wrong time, I would definitely have my education and just something to fall back on. So um, I did political science, but at the time, what I was planning on doing, if track and field didn't work out or something happened, then I would go on to law school.
Right. Right. So do you think that that's an important part for an athlete? Because I've noticed more and more a lot of athletes are going pro right out of high school. What are your thoughts about that?
Not everyone is a Usain Bolt who will make it extremely very well out of high school, and I've noticed it a lot, especially in Jamaica at the time. At this time, a lot of these kids, they're running pretty fast during high school, but you're not transitioning. You're not making the transition to the professional level. And I think that going to college, basically a semi-pro league would be right there then and there you could actually figure out whether or not you can actually make it to the professional arena. And during that time, you could also get yourself an education, get different experiences, meeting different people, and just you know it helps you because you know only the very minuscule athletes are going to make it to the professional level. So you have to have a backup plan. Not everybody is gonna make it in track and field, and I think that's a misconception that most have, is that once you're good in high school, then you're going to make it in the professional era. And I've seen many athletes just fall by the wayside because of it, and they might get signed out of high school, but they have no education, no anything. So after that first contract is up, what are you going to do? You're right back to square one.
Right, absolutely. And I think that's really, really, really good advice because, like you said, I see it as well. There were so many athletes that I came up with that later on down the line were nothing to be heard of. And people don't remember that. They remember what you did as a senior. So, if you can't make that transition, it can be very difficult. Now, speaking of transitions, what was it like doing so well in college? Because you're too small. You go from too small to great in high school. You go from great in high school to great in university. You've balanced your studies. You've graduated, but now it's time to like be with the big boys. What was it like transitioning from college, with that nice little bubble wrapped around you, to a professional?
All right. Well, my first year on the professional circuit was actually 2004, but I started competing with the seniors. My first national senior team was 2002, where I was part of the the team to the Commonwealth Games. So that was really my first experience, competing among guys at the highest level. And I went to the Commonwealth Games in Manchester. It kept in Manchester at that time, and I competed in 100. But um, fortunately for me, Kim Collins at the time, who won the Commonwealth Games that year, he was at TCU as well. So I was pretty much competing with those guys throughout that time. So
Right.
it was in '04. I also went to the World Championships in Paris while I
Right.
was in college. So I was competing against those guys, but not like in '04 when I actually went on the circuit. But as I said to you, my older brother and when I went to TCU, um, Darvis Patton, Kim Collins, those guys were maybe 2 years ahead of me. So I was pretty much competing with them, and they were actually still training at TCU at the time. So I was mixing it up with those guys from I was in college. So the experience wasn't difficult. It was just basically just, as you said, first time in Europe, just adjusting to the food and everything. And I just took all of that within strides, and then just competing. It's not competing. It's not competing against your peers anymore. You just have to adjust and get used to the competitiveness. It's not like in college where you would have a day off or a track meet that was easy. Every track meet, diamond, it was the Golden League back then, and the Super Grand Prix. Every meet, it was you have to be on your A game basically. So for me, it was just that first year, just getting the experience and learning from the experience. I competed at the Olympics that year, where I made it to the semifinals in the 100. So, I was mixing it up with those guys as soon as during and after college. So it was just learning from the experiences and just knowing what to do and what not to do while you're in the circuit.
Right, right. Excuse me. So you were basically, on the circuit level before you got to running on the Grand Prix circuit. So that worked out well for your preparation.
Worked up.
N- Yeah, definitely. Now, your first Olympics though was in Athens. What was that, initial, like you've been with the big boys. I remember Kim Collins, he was fantastic. Darvis Patton as well. I remember them. They were also during my era. And it's a lot different though when you now step into the Olympic Games. Like, everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, you're going to the Olympics! It's a big deal." What was it like for you that first time you're getting your uniform for Jamaica, going out to the games, flying out there? What was that like?
I mean, it's an experience that you just have to experience it for yourself. It was just
Yeah,
a feeling of accomplishment. You know, when you're at the Olympics, you're competing on the highest level. You're now among the best in the world. It's the very best that you're competing against. And I mean, the Olympics with all different sports, you get to meet people from every sports, every culture. You'll see your childhood idols. Like I remember meeting all those basketball and football players. So it was just an experience for me. I mean, I was shell shocked, like it was just overjoyed, but I also knew that I was there to compete as well.
right.
My coach, Stephen Francis, he never let you forget that 1 minute. Even though you're it's your first time at the Olympics, we were there to make ourselves be known there. So I was kept grounded by my coaches as well, knowing that it's the Olympics, it's the highest level, and this is really going to make your name.
Right. What did you learn from that first level, that first time? What did you learn from that first experience that helped you moving forward?
For me, it was just knowing that we are all humans, and you have to believe in yourself that you're able to compete against all these guys who are supposed to be the best in the world. You just have to. It's just about self-belief and the experience for me. Um, the atmosphere was out of this world. Stadium, packed and everything. But you just have to learn and realize that everyone is going through the same situations. Like
Yeah.
we are all humans, and if you can do it, I can do it. I know what I've done in my training, preparing myself to compete at the highest level. So it's just about me just realizing that, focusing on myself and just doing the best that I can do.
Right. Now you then transitioned from there, built on what you had already achieved, and went on to win a world championship silver medal in the 100 meters. What do you think was the key to achieving like this new height of success now, going from a finalist to a medalist?
For me, it was just, as I said, just the experience of competing with everybody.
Right.
I was used to everyone on the circuit. By the time I got to the World Championships, it was the same guys that I was competing with on the circuit. I pretty much beat everyone in the race before one time or another. So it was just, for me, it was just, all right, I'm in very good shape. My coach had prepared me well. Just go out there and execute and just do what I have to do. Um, it was a bit cold in Helsinki, but uh, I just by that time, I pretty much had the experience, as I said, of just competing with all these guys,
Right.
and yeah.
Did
So
your
that was
life
it for me. Just
change after you won the silver, after you'd been on these major championships? Did your life change much?
of course, it's going to change. A lot of people, starting to recognize you. Like,
Yeah.
it's like you actually become a celebrity, so to speak. So,
Right.
and then with competing at such a high level and actually getting the medal, I mean, certain things you're going to be able to afford certain things.
Yeah.
so, so, I mean, but with that said, I realized from a young age that with your track and field career, it's only maybe a 10-year career if you're lucky enough. So you know, with that said, I just kept grinding. I was like, all right, I was always told that you're as good as your last race. So
Right.
um, I just kept it moving. It was great success, but I knew I wanted to do other things as well.
Right, right. One of the challenges that a lot of athletes have is transitioning from, um, into these big meets, and they struggle with being able to perform when it matters. What does an athlete need to do to be able to transfer all this training that they're doing? Because it's terrible to do all this training and you get to the big meet and it's like it all goes away. What does an athlete need to focus on so that they can not choke, basically, is what we call it in the sports world, when it really counts? There's so many talented athletes. I'm sure you and I both have um, been in contact with and watched that are like amazing in training, amazing. You're like, oh, this person is gonna hit it big. This can't wait to see them. And then they get to the start line, and it's like, who is that person? Like, who's this guy that showed up for the race? Because that's not who I saw in training. How do you create that? Because you were always able to, really compete when it counted. How do you develop that skill?
I'm not sure if it's a skill that can be developed.
Right,
I think there comes a time where that comes down to the mentality of the athlete.
right,
Um, you have some athletes that are pretty laid back, but I think especially in the sprinting arena, um, you have to have a certain aggression. Like it's not for the it's not for the soft-hearted. Like I mean,
right.
it's where it's like a drag race, and I mean, you have to do the correct things and everything, but um, that's where, especially on the highest level, it's who wants it more, because you have all these talented athletes in the world who have been doing great in training, but when it comes to that particular race, like say the Olympics are, or to say the Olympics or something like that, it's just about who is mentally stronger, who is able to block the crowd out, to block the fear out, on themselves and just execute what they have done in practice. People have different ways of you know combating these things, but for me, especially me, it was just I always just replay what had happened to me during my childhood, where people always said I was too small or something like that, and I'm just there to, like, all right, you know what, I'm going to channel this energy into this race. I'm going to prove them wrong. um I'm going to go out there and I'm going to give you the best I can give you. If you beat me, then I'm satisfied with that. As long as I go out there and I execute and do the best I can, then I'm fine with that. But I mean, not everybody has the same mentality or the same mindset. I've seen, as you said, athletes who are just a beast in training. Like you would expect them to just win hands down, and when that gun fires, it's a different story.
Right. We
But I
shouldn't
think
laugh,
it's
but
just
it's
the
kind of
mentality,
funny. Yeah.
and just being mentally focused and just being able to just do what you practice in training. And I think
Right.
it's just the focus that some will lose while at the starting line.
Right. Right. Now, one thing I know for sure, because I've been on relay teams, is that there's a different kind of pressure when you know that someone is coming towards you full blast, and somehow you have to get this little stick from their hand to your hand and then pass on to somebody else. Like that is a lot of pressure. But you were on a world record team for the 4x4. What was that whole experience like, and what was the pressure like? Because I know Jamaica, right? If you like, if you wanna mess it up, it's gonna be hell, right? So, what was
I
that
mean,
like?
let me just go back to the especially I think the Olympics in London.
Yeah.
And for me, I think that was the not it was a lot of pressure in terms of um it was at the Olympics. It was in London. We have a huge Jamaican following in London. It
Yes.
was the final event of the Olympics. I mean, everybody's watching now. Finally, the US had, qualified for the finals with no mistakes. They had three guys in the finals of the 100. Jamaica had three guys as well, but Asafa pulled up, so it was not on our team. So it was finally no excuses. Everybody was fit. Um, and as I said, it was the last race of the Olympics. Everybody was just on in their game. Um, so the pressure was huge, but we knew we all were in great shape. We knew the US had four guys, four capable guys who had all run 9.8s. But for us, it was pressure, but good pressure. We knew that we had competed against these guys. We are just as good as these guys. We had Usain on there, so it was pressure. Well, I had pressure on myself because um, a lot of people was just saying that once you have Usain on your team that you're going to win. We
Mm,
didn't we didn't take that kindly. Like it
right.
was it was almost as a disrespect to us. So what I was making sure that I did my job good enough that when he got the baton, he was going to be in front. So people are not going to say, oh, all right, you're saying save the guys. Yeah, we would not have broken the
Mm,
world record if he wasn't on the team, but we wanted to make sure that we did our job, and we made sure that we got the stick to him in front. And as you know, there's nobody in the world who's going to run past him, and it was almost a guaranteed world record for us. But that was the most fun and pressure ridden race, I think, of my entire career, because as I said, last race of the Olympics, the whole world watching. And it was just us going to war basically, and I think we did very well. We executed very well, and we ended up with a world record.
well, I love that. And I mean, I can't even imagine because I actually came out into the stadium for my Olympic final in
Yeah.
2008, right when Usain had just broken the world record in the 200, and the stadium was going crazy. And I was like, stay calm, stay calm. So I don't even know what it's like to be the guy who has to get the stick to him. So kudos to you all for, such a great accomplishment. Now, you talked about this a little bit earlier. You said your brother told you about the things you would need to sacrifice in order to be successful. How did your career affect your personal life, and what are some of the sacrifices that you did have to make? Because I think this is another thing that people don't understand is what you have to miss out on, give up in order to be the best as you became.
I pretty much didn't have a personal life.
Mm, mm,
It was just training was at because we trained we trained pretty much throughout the day. My morning started at like 4 a.m. where we gotta you have to get up and just get ready for practice. Practice started at 5 a.m.
Wow.
and would have a running session from 5 until maybe 9:30. Because after the running session, we would have like workouts and stuff. We just go home, take a nap, get some lunch, and we'll be back for a gym session at say 2, and that would be like from 2 until about 4:30, and then from 4:30 we'd have like our plyometric session, and that would go on until about 6:30 to 6:37. And by the time you're done with that, you head home, you get some dinner, you take a shower, and then it's straight to bed. And I had to do that 6 days out of the week for how many years? So it was difficult to have a personal life like that. I mean, we'd all love to have relationships and stuff, but during that time it was difficult, with especially having a relationship, so to speak, because not many people understand that the sacrifices that it takes. And I would never have enough time to really have the personal life or the social life. But I just put it in my mind, it was just a sacrifice for a few years. Once I'm able to get this done, then my dream was to be a professional track and field athlete. So I just knew that I had to make the sacrifices to just do what I had to do for my career. So it's not the easiest. It's not the easiest thing, and it's just that once you have people who are supportive of you, then they'll definitely understand what you have to do, in order to be a professional athlete and one that's among the best in the world. If you don't make the sacrifices or the different training, then I mean anyone will be able to do it. But you just have to have the dedication and just know that if you have a dream, then you just go after it. You just make the sacrifices, and then I mean, as I said, it's not a long career. It's not a career that's going to last 40 years. It's pretty much a career that will last 5 to 10 years if you're lucky. So
Right,
you just
right.
have to make sacrifices.
It can be gone in a flash, so why not make the sacrifices? And those sacrifices are rewarded. You were able to achieve great things. I know at one point you were an ambassador for LifeSpring water. How difficult or how easy is it to get support like that, to get ambassadorships, to get income as a professional athlete? Is it easy, or is it a bit of a challenge to get these types of things, so that you can continue to further your career?
It's not as easy in Jamaica. I would put it
Mm.
like that. Like it's not as easy in Jamaica because we have so many talented athletes. But one of the problems that I have in Jamaica is that corporate sponsors, they don't really come on board until when they realize what you have done. And
Already,
I've been
yeah.
trying to encourage that to, especially corporate sponsors, and get on board with these athletes from a younger, from before they have, become world beaters. Just help them along the way. The need for sponsorship is in the background, the early
Yeah.
stages. But I've seen where, you know, my counterparts from different countries. I mean, most haven't even done close to what I've done, but the sponsorships, just keep pouring in for them. So I mean, once you put the work in and you're starting to be amongst the best in the world, and the sponsorships and so forth, people want to jump on your brand.
Right.
So as I said, it just depends on the country. I know Jamaica is not the easiest place to get sponsors, but different places in countries in Europe, once you're amongst the best in the world, then the sponsors will roll in.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I do remember speaking, or I don't know if I spoke to her personally. Yeah, I think I did. Dion Hemmings, back the Jamaican 400-meter hurdler, back when she was running, about how she felt, and she was, quite upset, like you said, about the type of support that athletes would get, that they needed along the way in the
Yes,
developmental stage, as opposed to now I've made it, jump on the bandwagon. So, and I think
yes,
that's important for athletes across the world, really. It is easier for sponsors to come on board when you've already done it all. But where you really need it is when you don't have enough for your spikes, or you don't have enough to pay for a gym membership. That's when you really need the help more than ever. Now, one of the transitions, in addition to going from from collegiate to pro, is your coaching. And that's like
yes.
the key to everything you do. It's like the foundation. What was transitioning from one coach to another, like maybe high school to collegiate, collegiate to pro? Because I know a lot of athletes there get very attached to their coaches, and they go to a new coach and they're like, well, my coach used to let me do this, and I don't want to do that because my coach didn't do that. It's like, how do you transition in a way that helps your career coaching wise? And what was that journey like for you?
Fortunately for me, my high school coach was Stephen Francis.
Nice.
And then I went on to college to coach Monty Stratton, whom I spent four years with. And then I went back to Jamaica, where I was back with my high school coach, which was Stephen Francis. But now he was actually, coaching, professionally. He had left the high school circuit and coaching professionally. So for me, it hasn't been difficult, changing coaches, because it's pretty much been three coaches throughout my entire career. So it wasn't difficult for me. After I parted ways with Coach Francis back in 2013, and then I went to Glenn Mills. So it wasn't a difficult transition for me. But I know athletes nowadays, that just bounce from coach from coach to coach, and every coach has a different philosophy.
Right.
Because even myself, Coach Francis and Coach Mills, two of the best coaches in the world, hands down. I think Coach Francis may be technically the best coach in the world, but and I said coaches are different. Like their own coaching method, their own mentality, it's completely different. So it's going to be difficult if athletes are going to be moving from coach to coach. It's difficult, and I think that's one of the things is some may not develop in a year, and realistically, you have to give a coach at least 2 years to actually see a difference in an understanding their methodology. So and then for me, just transitioning to coaching as well. I was lucky enough where I was coached by two of the very best coaches in the world, and I'm always a student of track and field. So I pretty much tried to learn every single thing I could from both coaches. And as I said, both coaches are completely different. So my method is almost trying to blend the two philosophies and the two methods that I've learned from these coaches together. And so that experience for me was just, you can't pay for that experience. Well, I paid for it during training with all long hours.
Right.
It was just a fortunate situation for me where I was able to learn from two of the best in the world.
Right. And I totally see what you're saying happening around the world where athletes are bouncing from coach to coach. And like you said, you do really need to give it at least 2 years to see, but athletes get in a panic if they don't see results right away, and they, fly the coop before they have a chance to really see the manifestation of the work that they're doing. So it is important to find that balance between sticking with it and then seeing how that result pays out before you just jump ship so quick. Now, retirement can be a really tough time for athletes, especially if they end up retiring before they planned to retire, which I would say probably about 80% of athletes end up retiring before they plan to. What was that like for you? What was the plan for you, and how did that play out? Did you have a retirement the way you wanted?
No, I didn't have a retirement the way I wanted. I would, knowing myself, my retirement actually came after looking back at things, after the Olympics in London. After the Olympics in London, I continued competing on the circuit, but I tore a ligament in my knee, which it was pretty bad, and I ended up having to do 2 surgeries. And since then, I was never able to fully recover. So I think injuries pretty much ruined the retirement party that I had for myself. So 2012 was the last really good year that I have. Tried to rehab from those knee injuries over the next few years, but things were just never the same. So by that time, with recovering and losing a lot of strength, especially during post surgery. I didn't even realize that even if you're just in bed for 2 3 weeks, most of your muscle, you could lose most, even a lot of your muscle mass, and I
Yeah.
pretty much lost a lot. So it was just a difficult recovery process for me. And as soon as I was getting back together, I toured again and had to do another surgery. So it was just one of those things for me where injuries got the better of me in the latter part of my career. But as I said, it's a part of the game. You
Right.
have to once you're putting your body through a certain level, certain stress, and being the best in the world or trying to be one of the best in the world, it's not easy. It's not
Right.
easy. So um, for me, it was just injuries got the better of me in the latter part of my career. But um, I'd still like to think I had a very good career and I really enjoyed it. So I have no regrets.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, what is it like now for you physically? Are you still trying to stay fit? Does the old injury prevent you from, because man, I'm trying to stay fit. And I was just saying to my partner the other day, I'm like, I cannot believe the kind of stuff I used to be able to do. And now, one flight up the stairs and you're hanging onto the wall. What's it like staying in shape now?
I'm not gonna say I'm in the best of shape right now. After I retired, I pretty much didn't do gym, didn't run, didn't. I pretty much, just not do anything for about 2 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was running all my life. I was trying to eat properly all my life. So, um, I really just, just put my feet down and just relax and just did everything I wasn't able to do during my career. So yeah, I've put some weight on. I've added maybe about about 20 pounds. You know, from what from when I was competing. But um, since I started coaching, I've been pretty much trying to stay active, especially with when I know that I have to show the athletes the different drills or the
Right.
different mechanics or something like that. So, and then every now and then when they're doing their workouts and I see them just logging behind or something like that, I'll jump in with them, just trying to run with them, trying to motivate them and stuff like that. So um, since I've started coaching again, I've been doing some workouts with them, which brings out the competitiveness again, because even in the workout, and we'd have the last one, and they'll be tired and I'm fresh, and I'm running with them, just trying to show them up. But
So no plans for Tokyo or 2024 then?
no, 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 no.
Ah. Now, what about on the business side? Because I've looked, with the past year with COVID and everything that's going on, a lot of businesses have been closing down, but you have in fact opened a business recently. How did that come about? Tell us about your business and how that came about.
um,
I see your logo
well,
too.
well, maybe about 2 years ago. About 2 years, no, not more than 2 years ago. After retiring, I was just thinking, what business can I go into? And the cannabis industry opening up in Jamaica,
Yeah,
and um, I just felt at the time, I mean, Jamaica has been long overdue in opening that particular industry, and
right,
I just decided that that's the venture I wanted to take. And we got a medical cannabis farm, and we have had that for about um, 2 years now. And so
right,
I've been in the medical cannabis space. And after the farm, then we opened a lounge and then a dispensary.
right.
So that's the space I am in, and I've just learned so much in the last 4 years about cannabis that I've never, growing up, it was always just thought of as a drug, as just something for idlers. But um, a funny story is that I was also a part of the IWF Athletes Commission,
Yeah,
and I think it was I don't. I think it was 2017. We had the commission meeting in Monaco, and before I left, I was feeling some pains in my knees, and but I didn't think it was very bad. And by the time I got to Monaco, when I was coming off the plane, I couldn't walk. And
Wow.
by the time I got to the hotel, um, couldn't move. And um, they'd sent me to the best doctors in Monaco. I was in the hospital there for about a week, and nobody could figure out what was wrong. And I just remember when I was leaving, the doctors were just saying, if you can ever find out what's wrong with you, we definitely want to know.
Right.
I was able to, they had drained fluids and all that stuff out my legs, and I was able to travel back to Jamaica. No one could figure out what was wrong when I got back here. Then I flew to Miami and did some tests, and nobody could figure anything out. Came back to Jamaica, and my dad was just like, "All right, no, you've never taken drugs. I know you don't believe in marijuana or anything like that, but um, it's I have this person who's extracts the oil from the bud, and it was just like, all right, I know it's been working and helping a lot of people. Why don't you try it? And went to a doctor, and he's prescribed how I should just take some drops of the oil, and then he gave me an ointment to put on my knees, and um within 2 months I was up and about like my
Wow.
like my and so that just really just put the icing on the cake for me. Like, all right, this started doing my research, and going to different seminars, traveled all over, especially the U.S., to the different conventions, just learning about it, and realized that this really is a miracle. It's a miracle plant. I mean,
Right.
once you're doing it correctly, and it could do wonders with every plant or everything. Once you abuse it, then it could be a problem. But
Yeah.
once taken with the right recommendations and stuff, it's a miracle. It's a miracle plant. And since then, I've just dived in headway, just trying to get people to really understand how good it is, and the CBD properties of cannabis. It's doing remarkable things all over the world. People who used to be so much against it are now realizing that that's what they need to stay healthy.
Right. And what's the name of your company?
The it's the well the, the farm is Nature's Purest Farm, and the dispensary is 420 Therapeutic Bliss, and the lounge is 420 Hookah Lounge.
Love it. Love it. And I know that you had big names like Asafa Powell and the sports minister Olivia Grange there when you opened up for the first time, and she really praised you. So, congratulations on that achievement. I know for a lot of athletes, starting a business and doing stuff outside of sport can be really daunting and scary. So to get your feet stuck into a new venture, is a really awesome thing, especially for the up and coming to see you, transitioning in that way. So, what would you say is the best things that you got from being an elite sportsman?
Just never giving up. Never giving up for me. Once your back is against the wall, it's just always, you may fall down, but you gotta pick yourself up.
Right.
As I said, one of the things I remember is that you're always as good as your last race. So each time you go out there, you just have to give it your best. And we're gonna have obstacles in life. You're gonna meet on roadblocks, but it's just overcoming adversity. I mean, I was learned that adversity reveals character. So once you meet up on the toughest of times and all that stuff, you just have to, for me, it was just showing my true self, as just trying to overcome these things the right way, never bending, never giving up, and just keep on pushing. And I've done that throughout all my career, and I'm gonna continue being the same person I am going forward.
Right. Now, I read somewhere that you said you have a wild side. Now, my wild side is so big that you probably have a hard time finding a normal side. But you said it takes the right person to bring it out. What does a wild side look like for Michael Frater? Is it running down the street with purple wig on, or what? What is a wild side for Michael Frater?
Um, I mean, for me, don't want to give too much away, but it's just really, as I said to you, throughout my career, especially, I wasn't able to really have a social life or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just really about kind of enjoying yourself. It just, I mean,
Okay, he's taking it to the grave, folks.
yeah,
We're
take them to the
we're
grave.
not gonna find out. We're gonna have to hire a private investigator for this one. Awesome. One of my last questions. If I was to interview you in 10 years from now, what would you want to be able to tell me has happened in your life?
That I'm a successful businessman, and I have coached, maybe 3 or 4 Olympic gold medalists.
Nice. That's a good one. We'll be watching. Right now, I always like to play a little game with my guests before we go. It's a game of this or that. So I'm just going to ask you about two things and you just pick one or the other, okay?
Okay.
All right. Coaching or competing?
Competing.
Businessman or sportsman?
Sportsman.
Oxtail or brown stew chicken?
Oxtail.
I knew. World record or world championship medal?
Medal.
And finally, what would you want the world to know?
Just believe in yourself. As I said, the obstacles that we face, trying to accomplish our dreams, never let that deter you. If you have a goal and you have a determination and you want to accomplish certain things, just stick to it. The sky is the limit. Just dream big, and just once you believe in something, just go after it.
Awesome. Amen to that. Now, if people want to find you, if they want to heal their knees too, or they want to find out, more about what you're doing with your business, or just follow your coaching, or just find you and see what you're up to, how can they get in touch with you, or how can they keep track of what's going on with you?
Well, especially for us now, most people are on Instagram, so you could follow me myself, Michael Frater, 876 on Instagram, or the Titans Track Club. That's the name of our training group. We're also on Instagram, and then you have the 420 Therapeutic Bliss and the 420 Hookah Lounge that are also on Instagram. So um, we are on Instagram every day. You'll see something different, and we do actually show some of our workouts on Instagram. We have the live videos that we show for our track workouts. So you could follow us and just join us in our journey. And I think
Wonderful.
even this first year, I think we are going to make an impact
I love it.
once the Olympics is kept.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will be following and I will be keeping track of what's going on with you guys. And we wish you, the best with your businesses and the best with your up and coming athletes.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming back. We'll see you
Sure.
soon. Bye
All right,
bye.
bye.
Well, a lot of technical difficulties there with our sound, with working together on this interview, but it was worth it because even though he's been on before, seeing that he's moved into a new venture and what that means and learning more about what he's trying to do with the up and coming athletes is fantastic. So we wish him all the best and maybe we'll have him back on for a third time, a hat trick. So don't forget, guys, make sure you like, share and follow. It really helps us like to get the word out about these great fantastic people and some of the knowledge that they can impart not just on other athletes but on people in general and how you can be your very best. So we love for you to like, share and follow because it helps us get that word out. Now don't forget to go to www.globalsportschannel.com and find out more about what we've got going on. It's not just this show, it's not all about me and my guests. There's so much more in there, so go and check that out. And don't forget to comment on your favorite part of this interview and what stood out for you. All right, so that's all from me for now.